911 callers are being put on hold due to a shortage of dispatchers, because who wants to deal with that abuse?
An increase in just harsh language, impatience, racial epithets being thrown at them.
Smile! You're under federal investigation. An elections official turns herself in for obstructing and kicking at officers who tried to seize evidence. A sheriff says no more questions about his questionable live-streamed police chase. So you know Marshall Zellinger kept asking. And it's come to our attention that some of you are holding bootleg Olympic events at your homes. Rather than turning you into authorities, we're going to put them on TV. Because this is next, but before. Denver can't find enough people to answer 911 calls, to the point that some callers are being put on hold. Turns out it's tough to convince people to take a job where they face verbal abuse all day. Anusha Roy looks at how the city's trying everything from pay increases to nicer coffee to get people to work 911.
When COVID first struck and we were told to stay at home, people started calling 911 on their neighbors.
And maybe tell the police of what they were doing.
Amy Laurie remembers one caller in particular.
So we did have one woman that liked to call us and let us know that her neighbor had gone to Taco Bell a couple times during the week and during one particular day.
But the deeper we got into the pandemic, calls started taking a darker turn.
Just an increase in just harsh language, impatience, racial epithets being thrown at them.
Dispatchers started leaving in droves to the point the dispatch center has half the staffing it ideally needs, and that is having a scary impact.
911 calls are sitting on hold before a call taker can get to them from time to time. And that is not something that should ever happen, but it's unfortunately where we are right now.
It's not every call, and sometimes the hold lasts for a few seconds, but it is happening every day.
You will hear a recording telling you not to hang up. You've reached Denver 911. Somebody will be with you shortly.
The reasons 911 dispatchers are leaving is layered. Violent crime is up, so they're taking more intense calls back to back. Then there's the Great Resignation, people leaving for different opportunities, more money, or different lifestyles. And then there's the fact that some dispatchers are tired of being yelled at, even with their training to take calls during someone's worst moment.
We're used to having that high intensity, but I think that maybe for calls that wouldn't quite be considered an emergency, that you feel a different intensity.
Across all industries, everything is we're struggling to find a good outlet. It's not the fault of the people of Denver. It's this space that we're all in right now, but the 911 folks are feeling it, and they have felt it.
So when the pandemic first started, the dispatchers were saying that people were actually nicer, they were more polite, they were more patient, and then that slowly started to go away. So the big changes to try to fix this was a big bump in pay in September. That really helped keep people. The city's also trying to streamline recruitment just to make it easier for folks to apply. And now, Kyle, they're offering things like massages during breaks, service dogs, a fancier coffee machine to try to keep people happier in the few minutes of downtime that they do have.
The big carrot that a lot of employers have dangled is work from home.
Yeah, and the city is trying to do that as well. They're actually currently trying to interview for a new position. So you've got your emergency line and then you have your non-emergency line. And they've actually created a work from home position where somebody could start help fielding those calls from their house. They're saying they're hoping to have that launched in the next couple of months, but they are actively looking for someone. So they're trying to adapt in the same way that every other industry is doing.
You and I could pick up some extra work. You in front of that brick wall, me in my basement, your son crying, my girls running around while we're taking non-emergency 911 calls. All right, thank you, Nusha. Hey, while we are talking about the stress and the strain on Colorado's first responders and their mental health, I should thank you for raising $14,000 since last night for a nonprofit that provides mental and emotional health support for those first responders statewide. Foundation 1023 offers anonymous help for first responders, people who might be concerned about asking for that help at work, the stigma of that, and they extend the support to their families, who often share the burden of what we ask our first responders to see and hear on a daily basis. If you want to get in on this week's Word of Thanks goodness, scan that QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, and I'll send you that link to join me in giving. The state is adopting new election security requirements after several Republican election clerks bragged about going in to copy voting machine files. Election rigging conspiracy theorists claim without evidence that somehow those files are going to prove that the 2020 presidential election was rigged. Colorado's new rules restrict access to the voting systems with new requirements for account access and cutting in half the number of people who can get inside those voting systems. The state's new rules specifically prohibit copying voting system hard drives. Republican election clerk Tina Peters in Mesa County and Dallas Schroeder in Elbert County have bragged about doing that, making those copies and sharing the images with people outside their offices. Hey, speaking of Clerk Peters, she turned herself in on an arrest warrant this morning. She's facing 2 misdemeanors for obstructing a peace officer and obstructing government operations. She struggled with police officers in Grand Junction on Tuesday. Investigators say she tried to kick them and ended up hitting an officer's weapon. They were there on a search warrant for a separate felony investigation where Peters is accused of improperly recording a court hearing, then lying to a judge about it. Peters faces additional local and federal investigations over the breach of her voting systems. Colorado Republican Party is standing by Clerk Peters, saying that the legal process needs to play out. A third Republican elections clerk in our state investigated for claims of a copied hard drive have not been cleared by Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office. Douglas County Clerk Merlin Klotz said he used a poor choice of words to describe a voting system backup on social media. He insisted that he had never done anything illegal. Now, the Secretary of State's office says after their investigation, they're satisfied there's not a current threat to election security in Douglas County. Adams County's Democratic Sheriff Rick Reigenborn is running for re-election, and he is eluding our questions about his decision to join a car chase, live stream it, and then keep chasing when other officers said it was too dangerous to continue. Not tough to see how that situation could have turned out tragically. What's tragic, according to the sheriff's office, is that we keep asking about it. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
Buckle up, here we go.
It's the video Democratic Adams County Sheriff Rick Reigenborn wanted you to see until I started asking pointed questions about it. Reigenborn live-streamed a police pursuit on January 29th. He was more than willing to talk on camera and even promoted it on the same Facebook page where he live-streamed. But when I asked if the sheriff violated his own department's pursuit and ride-along policy, I was told the sheriff was too busy.
Hold on. Let's see if we got a pursuit going.
Okay. You see, the sheriff joined a pursuit from 6.5 miles away with a passenger in an unmarked vehicle. Ride-along policy states the participant should be let out of the vehicle in a safe, well-lighted place. Pursuit policy states distinctively marked patrol vehicles should replace unmarked vehicles. For 3 days, I pushed for answers to the policy questions and clarification on who was riding along. Yesterday, I got this response. We will not provide any further comments on this story and instead hope you'll spend time focusing on the great work being done by law enforcement officers here in Adams County and across Colorado. The sheriff's office spokesman tells us the ride-along passenger is Tim Shelley, S-H-E-L-E-Y, someone who was formerly in the radio business. We can't find a Tim Shelley, but we found Tim Shiley, who also goes by Scooter McGee and calls himself a retired broadcaster. Here he is on Facebook, followed by the ride-along passenger helping direct the sheriff during the pursuit.
I am Scooter McGee.
There he is.
Where?
On the next block. Go through the alley. Go through the alley.
Shiley/McGee is a conservative conspiracy theorist who has suggested mass shootings were really government operations and that public health orders were to usher in martial law. We wanted to know about his involvement with the sheriff's office. Among the questions we asked when we were told to spend time focusing on the great work being done by law enforcement. I've left multiple voicemails and text messages for Tim Shiley/Scooter McGee. I got an email response tonight from the sheriff's office on the policy questions, Kyle, and a spokesman tells me the situation was reviewed and found to be within policy.
Who's in charge of reviewing stuff to make sure it's cool?
I believe the sheriff. It did not say in the email, but ultimately everything comes to the sheriff.
Yeah, and the reason why this is important is because the reason that law enforcement has rules around chases is because they're dangerous. And that's the reason why they drop off passengers and call them off and do them in marked vehicles and things like that. So if one of them is being done for giggles on the internet, that presents questions.
We got feedback from a viewer after the story earlier in the week that said, how come we're not focusing on the attention that somebody was arrested, that it succeeded? Because imagine if it didn't, and what we would be covering.
All right, Marshall, thank you. The Aurora Police Department is going to get some outside supervision from Florida. The city, as well as the Attorney General's office, have decided on a risk management agency, and they're going with a company called IntegraSure out of Florida to oversee the settlement to reform policing in Aurora. An investigation after the death of Elijah McClain in police custody found that the Aurora Police Department had engaged in racially biased policing. Colorado's Democrats and Republicans are in agreement that public safety is one of our largest challenges right now, but they are standing literally far apart on the issue. The governor unveiled public safety legislation today, and some law enforcement unions declined to stand with him for the announcement. The plan would include funding to train and retrain law enforcement, more funding for co-responders to cover calls where police aren't necessary, and it would also add money for school safety.
This is a package that will improve public safety in the state of Colorado. There are lots of other ideas about how to do that. Ideas from the left, ideas from the right, ideas from the center, ideas from up, ideas from down. We are open to any idea that the data shows will improve public safety.
Republicans in the state legislature squarely blamed the governor for the increase in crime. The county sheriffs of Colorado, Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, and the Colorado Fraternal Order of Police sent a letter to the governor ahead of today's event saying, quote, "Our organizations do not have an official position of support on your public safety budget package in its entirety due to its failure to advance policy changes alongside ongoing budgetary proposals." The lack of COVID vaccine boosters for older Coloradans has led to unnecessary deaths. We asked the head of the state's COVID response why that failure happened. Big wolf news today in Colorado and nationally. The big wolf news in our state, though, is actually it's about a little wolf.
If it's a bit too short or not frozen over enough, you can fly off the edge.
All the thrill and danger of the actual Olympics, except not the Olympics. We can't call it that or we get sued. Next. Jefferson County is ending its mask mandate a week early. Board of Health voted this afternoon to end the public health order tomorrow instead of February 18th. That unmasks schools and child care facilities as well. Yesterday, a Jeffco school board meeting had to be held under high security after a threat from somebody demanding that the mask mandate be dropped immediately. Only about 7 in 10 of the most vulnerable Coloradans to COVID have their boosters. Talking about people over the age of 65. 71% of them have their vaccines and the booster shot. You look at COVID deaths in our state, and people over the age of 60 made up more than 4 in 5 of them. Today, we asked the COVID-19 Incident Commander Scott Bookman if he thinks that the state holds any of the blame for the failure to get those vulnerable Coloradans boosted.
Do you think that, at the national level, there were some confusion initially about when these, what we were calling then these booster doses, were required? And so, what we do know right now is that, 71% of those who are 65 and up have gotten their booster. And we will continue to do all that we can to publicly message the importance of being up to date on your vaccination.
This drop-off in booster use is really kind of across the board. So more than 76% of people in Colorado who are eligible for the vaccine got a first dose. Then less than half of eligible people decided to get the booster. On the same day that a judge ordered federal protections for gray wolves to be restored, Colorado Parks and Wildlife says they got one. Collared a gray wolf pup, wolf named 2202, the first gray wolf born and collared in our state. One of 8 wolves in the North Park area, one of 6 pups born there last year. The news of her capture and collar comes as a U.S. district judge ruled that federal endangered species protections must be restored for gray wolves across most of the country. The wolves will regain their federal protection in 44 states, including Colorado. Protections were removed during the Trump administration. The ruling does not impact wolves in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and New Mexico.
Like springtime in Colorado today, sunshine and temperatures in the low 60s. We've got a storm coming and snow by tomorrow morning. The weekend looks pretty good, but we won't be in this range. With a high of 61, that's almost 20 degrees above average. High clouds coming in tonight, signaling the arrival of a cold front that will be here tomorrow morning. That front means scattered snow showers mid-morning, off and on throughout the day. Looking for about an inch or 2 of snow here in Denver, but maybe slightly heavier amounts in the foothill areas just to the west and south of town. We do have an inch or 2 for Denver, with 3 for Boulder and 4 in Evergreen, 3 in the Conifer area. Storm moves out Friday night, sunny and 46 Saturday, Super Bowl Sunday close to 60, and on Valentine's Day, a forecast to love.
There's not a one of you that's won an Olympic medal, but we have learned that it's not for lack of trying. A new segment tonight featuring your feats of at-home Olympic skill, or at least effort. Next. Adding one average person to every Olympic event would be a tremendous improvement, because otherwise we all think that dude from Belarus is really slow when he's actually one of the best in the world. And I see a bunch of you have been training at home for your shot. Time for your highlights to make the TV news. We're calling this Colorado's at-home Olympics, but not the Olympics, because if we said Olympics, they could sue us. So you have to be like an Olympian in training or whatever to use the Olympic Training Center in the Springs. They've got a skeleton course there. No such requirement, though, for Jason Spahn's front yard in Littleton. Tom Cole went by for us.
This is probably cooler than Disney. We call it a luge.
This is a little neighborhood gym here. Yes, we're big Olympics fans. I've seen a kid or two launch over the side.
Jason Spahn and his kids have been building a sledding hill in their front yard for the past 12 years.
You love your children, you want to do something fun for them, and plus that's a big hit in the neighborhood.
So just flop on your belly and let yourself go.
Each year there's a different theme.
It was perfect timing because this year the Olympics were going on. Hey!
So Jason's almost 11-year-old daughter, Stella, and her friends do laps on the shortest Olympic track in Littleton.
It's kind of just amazing because if I'm just like, I want to play in the snow, I can just go to my front yard and go sledding.
With a north-facing driveway and plenty of snow, Jason's adjustments over the years have improved the run.
It's better when my dad makes it. It makes it feel like it's made with love.
Who knows? Yeah. You could be looking at future Olympians.
I flipped over on my head.
Or maybe they're just kids having a good time.
You have to kind of be careful when you're going down, especially at that turn.
Yeah, so the run only takes about 10 seconds. But the memories. How long will Stella continue the tradition?
As long as I can. My brother's kind of becoming a moody teenager, and I'm not quite there yet. So I'm going to just do it as long as I can.
For Next, I'm Tom Cole.
I hope I can use this on my birthday.
Look how epic that is. Now Olympicologists will note that Stella and her friends are going head first, so technically that's skeleton but not luge, but they're also on an inner tube, so whatevs. Show us your at-home Olympic events, even if they are not, shall we say, actual Olympic events. Email photos or videos to next@9news.com. If it's super awesome, maybe we'll send Tom Cole out with his drone. We'll share your feedback about the Adams County Sheriff's live stream car chase next.
Next producer Kevin Larson checking in again. Wanted to let you know that after Next, you can learn more about a Coloradan competing in her 5th Olympics and see a guy from Steamboat doing some Nordic stuff. Tune into the Olympic Zone with Tom Green at 5:30 to find out what that means.
Fiery feedback tonight about Adams County's Democratic Sheriff Rick Ragenborn live streaming a police chase from his patrol car. Dan says, please do not let go of the Adams County Sheriff's story. They have to be held accountable. Scott notes, chase policies are in place to keep the public from getting in a fatal wreck in a high-speed chase for a minor violation just to provide some excitement. Scott says chases like these come with much risk. Keep asking questions. Despite the order from the sheriff to stop, we intend to. We'll see you next time.